Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cylon Johns. See, first I should probably start my camera. Good to see you all.
Sorry.
Echo.
Clarissa's got the echo. But yes, it is very good to see you all. And it's so exciting to talk about this episode because I forgot how fracking good this episode is. And just how much shit goes down. And as my good friends in Cypress Hill said, when the shit goes down, you better be ready.
Yes.
So, to introduce the rest of the panel, first we have the lovely, talented, about to graduate from school and be a big kid, Mackenzie L. Burns.
Hi, everybody. Yes, I have 3 more courses left, so I should be done school in the summer, so then I graduate technically in the fall. But yes, here to talk about this episode of BSG, episode 4 of this season, and my oh my, did we get to see Ellen Ty again? And yeah, I think that this episode we get a lot of cool things happen and steps moving forward to probably what might happen in the mid-season finale. That's what I'm thinking. All of this is leading to mid-season finale stuff. So can't wait to talk about it with you, John, and Clarissa. Everybody else in the chat.
And Clarissa. And by the way, my deepest and heartfelt regrets for the loss that Canada had on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And much more on the much more important loss that was also, I believe, had on Tuesday, which is like 30 people under 30, or one of the greatest drummers of all time who's like 67. So
I think both of
I'm
them
not
were
gonna get into that
terrible.
too much, but
I think both of them were terrible. And I'm feeling for all the people involved for sure. But we lost some young people and we lost a rock legend. So it's kind of a sad week in Canada. But we just gotta keep going.
at least global warming is making some of your snow go away.
Right? At least it means that my garden has to be planted on time. Or early.
Yeah,
We'll see. I'm in the middle of Snowmageddon right now. It's been snowing since yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Since last night.
Like real snow. We get like not snow here.
I don't know. Can I get the camera over there?
Clarissa,
I
Mackenzie,
could probably get the camera over there.
what I was going to use is the adjective there, but I don't want to offend anybody. So yeah, we get not snow here.
There you go. There's the snow, John.
And everybody freaks out about it. They go nuts. And I'm like, it's 2 inches of freaking snow. Have you ever stood in like 2 feet of it?
Yeah.
With a rifle in your hand looking for a fucking deer in the middle of nowhere? With deer piss all over the ground?
It's infrequent.
It's not snow.
Yeah, we get Yeah, we get snow. We're actually supposed to get rain tomorrow, like 50 millimeters of rain tomorrow. Like, so it's gonna be crazy. So it's like half a meter of rain tomorrow, apparently. Not snow, rain. So yeah, it's gonna be flooding.
Not half a meter.
We still have high winds expected.
That's in centimeters
tonight, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Anyways, before we start doing math, say hi. So we got Bobby in the chat. We changed your icon to a leopard, or do you think it is a leopard? And the hobbyist, Alicia Kingston, came by to say Hi. And then we got House of the Conqueror, Johnny, in the chat with us, as well as Dark Mother, and some person named the Episode Club, as well as some other lady named Clarissa Thompson. Don't know who she is, but she's here today too. And yeah, it'll be.
Yes.
This is a good episode to talk. Oh, and also some person named the Cylon John. I don't know who that is either.
You never know who it is. It might be me. It might be the pretty younger one. But
Or even Johnny sometimes. You never know.
no, that's what I meant by the pretty younger one.
Yeah.
I'm like the Ellen Ty model. He's like
The six.
he's like the 6 model, you know. But you never know who's going to be Silent John. You might get Ellen. You might get Trisha Helfer.
I was just like, oh man. Oh man.
Oh man. Like SpongeBob.
He's going cuckoo.
And
Or is he?
We'll get to Baltar, I think, last.
Pious Gaius.
Because
Gaius is back.
you know, Gaius and his come to Jesus moment.
But yes, yeah.
Let's
Tyrell.
talk about Tyrell.
Yeah.
And what that poor man or robot or whatever the fuck you want to call him is going through right now.
Yeah, I'm really feeling for Tyrell right now. He's messed up.
Yeah.
And somebody just buy the poor man a razor, please.
Oh. Is that
Sorry.
a clue?
I'm a shave Nazi. I'm a total shave Nazi, so it drives me nuts. Like, I can deal with full facial hair, or like I'm working on this, and I can deal with like smooth skin, but like the whole like, hey, I just didn't want to shave today, like it just drives me freaking insane.
Well,
And
yeah.
I used to work with somebody who shaved with hair clippers, so that he could always have that type of look.
Oh, like the Don Johnson, like Miami Vice look of 1987.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
except
usually-
it's like 2015.
It's like, well, I bet it's just like it's itchy growing it out, but then once it's like fully there, then it's just like not as itchy anymore or whatever. Yeah, I think
No, it's just you look like a hobo. Like Tara looks kind of like a hobo in this episode. I mean,
I gotta say though,
I could
there
see
are some
him asking me
fellas.
if I had a quarter. That's all I'm saying.
What'd you say, Clarissa? Sorry.
I was gonna say, I have to admit, I mean, like, when you know it's because a guy's been working and he's got those big hard hands and that stubbly face, maybe it can be overlooked.
Like how Bobby said, Bobby says, I thought he looked good for a change. Well, he probably looked a bit older,
Yeah.
in that too. Like, which I mean, that may be like a thing that plays out. But yeah, they have the service for Callie. It's the first time we have I think like a non-military based service that we've done, minus like the fake Hera fake out kind of thing.
Right, because she's not military. She's
Enlisted.
Yeah, she's an NSO or NST.
Yeah.
And do either of you remember that Tyrell's father was a priest?
Were both of his parents religious leaders?
I think it was
They never talk about his mom, really.
I thought he mentioned they were both.
Like, you might be right, but I seriously think it's her being mentioned in like a single drop-off line in one episode.
He might have talked about his mother quote unquote, when they did like maybe some of the religious stuff, but they mostly focus on his father. And yeah, I think it's quite interesting that he kind of led the service, even though there was, I can't even remember her name, the one who was like heavily like involved, like the support for that ceremony, and it was quite nice, but it was also obviously difficult for them because they didn't obviously have her body because she was airlocked last episode. But I think it was nice. It was like a different form of religion, and I know we wanted to kind of separate the Bill and Laura stuff, John. But when Rosalind says that this is the type of service that she likes, makes me think that she's dying, but not like she's obviously on the road to dying, but she's not going to die yet. So it's like having him be prepared for that moment, which will be interesting. Because you get to, because I think also with that scene they have it like where Tyrell's standing in the middle and everyone else is kind of around, which I thought was kind of nice too, that it was like that focus on Tyrell and him saying those words, and you almost feel like they mean what he's saying, but like he's like that he messed up and all of this stuff, and then he wishes he could take all of that stuff back, which, I mean, if you lose somebody like that in a traumatic way, then you're going to say that those types of stuff to make yourself, in a sense, feel better, even though you can't take it back.
Right. Bobby, in answer to your question, no, that is never specifically stated that Cylons don't age. That is never anywhere specifically stated. In fact, Ty was a young man when he met Villadama,
Yeah.
and now he's a man in his 60s.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe because they like go into new bodies occasionally.
That's what I
They're
think.
always kind of young because they're never in a body long enough for it to age much. Like,
Or maybe Six was telling the truth this episode. Maybe she was telling the truth when she said, "Look, I don't have cords, I have veins. I'm a living being just like you."
Yeah. And I think it's almost one of those situations with the Cylon, like at least the final five, that it's like they probably had their adult model, and then subsequently, as they began to progress, they had children models, like infant models, child models, like teenager models, adult models, and probably like a grandpa type of model before they were able to figure out the whole procreation stuff and like how you can grow from a small human to like a big like adult, like you can do it by itself kind of thing. That's what I almost kind of think it's like how it almost works.
what's that?
How about you? The proposition that Mackenzie just put forth. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm kind of on. Like, are we still talking about the aging thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just. Yeah. Yeah, though, even though, like I was saying before, I do think it's likely that they could just move on to the next body once they get to a certain age. Like, maybe they get sick or. Like, we don't know anything about their. Do we know about their immunity?
John's like, yes, but we'll find that out later.
No, but I mean, so far in the story, have we learned anything about their immunity to anything? Did they get sick?
Yeah, they get sick.
Okay.
You remember that ship that killed almost everybody?
Right, like a computer virus idea sick. Okay. Okay, well then I won't pry too much into this because this sounds like upcoming plotline information. So
Yeah, it seems like they probably obviously had their first models or first versions were adults, and then like progressively got like either stayed as adults and then probably just a slightly older adult, and then progressed backwards. So then they start with the children, which
but when
seems like the older versions of the
You
seven.
see,
That
like
we know.
like almost like Star Wars. Like the clone is born as a child, but it grows up as a clone, but it grows up like normally.
but part of the issue with the Cylons, isn't it, that they were trying to learn how to figure out how to make children because they can't make children on their own?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was like trying like make smaller versions of like themselves like as like babies, and like it grows. So then how that could probably work with your idea, course, is like that once they grow out of the baby stage, then they transfer into like a like in the very very beginning, which we probably will never get this answer, but like transfer into a toddler to then a teenager, or like a younger kid to then a teenager to then this. So then that's why probably when the reveal of when we get to like the Saltai, like that's the Saltai that has been a teen, but they've probably had multiple versions of this, so that when you see Saltai go from the teenager to then the adult, it's like seamless transition almost. It's not like let's go from the jumping. It's like a whole thing, like that they've perfect, like they were the final five before they made everybody else. Kind of. That's how I'm beginning now to think of it like that.
Like a finite number of bodies?
Like how, because we have to remember that it's like kind of like how they built, because they started as machines, and then it feels like the final five were also the first five. So maybe like the first five to be completed, as in like the ones that are outed Cylons, so like the seven. Um, so they can go from childhood to adult seamlessly, almost.
Right.
Because it seems like, because you have to start with anything, you have to start with phases, and like those five were the ones that were like, yep, we got you all working fine now. We can stop. Like you're the special ones, and then everybody else carries on. Like 6 there was once a small six that's now six now. Like that kind of thing. They were all stolen, as Bobby says.
Like at some point there was one. And then that one was copied and yeah.
Johnny says that Starbucks has magical time traveling eggs.
That's charming.
Starbucks, the last thing I want to get into on this episode. Like literally,
Speaking
literally
of
the last thing I
children,
want to get into because it's a great way to end talking about this. But speaking of children, oh yes,
does anybody else think that like Tyrell's kid is gonna get taken away from him?
Wellness check. What did I say? Like last episode, it's like Doc Collins gonna have like a wellness check on that kid if he keeps getting deprived of
I loved the conversation that Adama had with Tyrell, because I understand that, like having been in that situation as an employee and having been in that situation as a boss, when he's like, if you need time off, I'll give you it. If you need more shifts, I'll give them to you.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a simple statement, but it's so. If you're ever in that situation, having to say that to somebody is so much better than anything else you could ever say to that person. Like, hey, you need some time off? I've got it for you. If the last thing you need is time off because you're just going to sit around as a drunken waste, I can do that for you too, whatever you like.
Oh, Bobby's asking if he smacked Callie around in the flashback. That was the flashback to when he was having
Punched
those
her.
out of control,
Fits, yeah.
like violent outbursts.
PTSD.
Yeah. And he just lost it on her that one time.
Yeah,
Like-
because remember he beat on her, and then like a season later, they were married.
Are
Yeah.
either of you amazed that everyone in this fucking fleet doesn't have insane PTSD?
Oh, they probably all do. That's why they're all so freaking out on each other.
They could also sometimes people manage that type of stress differently than others. Like for a long time, like Starbuck dealt with her issues much differently than some of these other characters. Like even Bill Adama deals with his PTSD in a different way than other people. I think it's highlighted and
Smashes very
emphasis.
expensive, carefully put together boats.
Yeah, well, that's when he thought that basically his daughter was dead. So, but yeah, it's like one of those situations where we see how people handle certain situations differently, and it's important that like Tiro obviously goes through this to be personified in a position, because it's showing the layers and the complications that his character is going to go through. It's going to be the reveal that Tori accidentally killed Callie.
No, the
Oh, she
only
didn't accidentally kill Callie.
No, like that she actually
killed
did.
Callie.
No, because I said actually, not accident. I might have cut out there. That she
My
actually did
bad.
kill her.
the only
But
thing,
yeah,
my one singular and only criticism of this episode is that you don't see what's going on in Sam's mind. Because the other three known Cylons, this episode focuses so much on what they're
That doesn't-
thinking, where their brain is going. Like Tori's fucking batshit. Oh
well,
my
that
god!
doesn't mean that we can't have Anders next episode just because they had the three of them, because they didn't really focus on Starbuck this episode. It was
No,
more
what I was saying is,
Galactica.
I want to see Anders' story.
But yeah, we'll get to that one.
Like, I don't even
Just
think
didn't-
Starbuck's story. I don't think Anders needs to be a connected piece to Starbuck's story. I think he's at a point, especially since like 99 times she's told him like, "Hey, we're not married anymore. You're just like somebody to shag." Like,
No, I know.
he
I
could
know
start
that.
having his own story, like in Ty's own story. I just, what I love about this episode is the psychology of how our known Cylons are working their shit out, or not working their shit out. And I would really have liked to have seen some of what was going on. That's my one singular criticism of this episode. Otherwise, I put this episode at top of one of my entire episode of the series. But the one thing that I want to complain about is, like, I really wish I could have seen Anders working his shit out, because you don't.
Well, that doesn't mean that it can't come next episode. It just means that they ran out of time to tell his story because they were telling the other important stories of this episode.
Oh, no,
But
absolutely. But I'm talking about a specific episode. I mean, that's what we do this show for, is to speak about the specific episode.
No, I know that. It just means that it just didn't fit in this episode. Doesn't mean it's not important. It just didn't fit in this episode.
No, but I get what you're saying, John. Here, you're saying how there's a theme within this episode, and it would have been nice if they had all been included upon that theme. I think I'm picking up what you're saying there, but yeah, I can see that, but
like Tyro's
that
losing
doesn't.
his identity, Tori's losing her humanity. Ty
That's
is
very interesting.
losing.
I really want to talk about Tori.
Yes.
Tori, she is embracing her power like a motherfracker. She's like, when they're all meeting and she's talking to Tyrell, and well, I guess she's talking to both of them, and she was just like, we're stronger than they are. We're better than they are. Like, she's like, yes, I can understand why you want to embrace your humanity, but aren't we superior now? Which is interesting because it shows sort of a psychology that when she just thought she was human, she knew that Cylons were superior to them. Right? Like something in her was like, they're superior to us. Which is why she's identifying now, because she's realizing that she's all the things that she was before and more.
Can I throw some dynamite in the pond?
Okay.
It's the exact opposite of what Six is saying.
Oh, it's totally true. It's totally juxtaposed with what the Six is talking about, how they're more human, like they're embracing their humanity, and that they're more human than humans give them credit for. And I'm not doubting that either. But it's interesting
No,
how
I just think it's
looking
really...
at two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with you entirely. I'm saying it's extremely well done juxtaposition, because you have Six, who since the beginning of the series you have thought of as, for lack of a better term, the villain, and she's saying, we have feelings, like, I care, I realize what I did, I can't take it back, I can't do anything about that. And then you have Tori, who's like, oh, hey, well, we're the master race. Tori Uber Alice.
So who's gonna end up on Saul's side?
Oh my
in the
god,
end?
we're totally gonna get demonetized for that.
We aren't even monetized, so it doesn't matter now. That would take 10 years or whatever for us to actually get to that point. So it's not
yeah, Tori Uber Alice. I mean, it's terror. Her vindictive, her language of what she says is so terrifying if you're a history student. It's like, yeah, Tori Uber Alice. It's fucking scary, is what it is.
Yeah, Tori's definitely like, and I think that all three of them are definitely headed on a trajectory that is going to draw attention to them. Which is not necessarily a good thing for their situation.
Right, but you see why I would have liked to have seen Anders' story a little more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because
bulked up, because it's like you have 1, 2, 3.
It would have been nice to have the 4 complete points of view.
Yeah, and even if it's their own story, like, I mean, to me, one of the most awesome scenes is in episode 1 of season 4, when Sam Anders is like, I don't know, and Tyrell's like, you're Sam fucking Anders, like, you're, this is who you are. And in case nobody else is caught on, I think that's kind of what the whole point of the show is. You are who you make yourself.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, speaking of making yourself somebody, what about making yourself Jesus?
Are we going to talk about Gaius already? We're not going to wait till the end?
I thought you wanted to talk Bill and Laura first.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Or
You're
Saul
right.
and Ellen.
Sorry.
No, you wanted to talk about Saul Six and like the Ellen stuff. Too.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like I said, I forgot how good this episode is and how dense it is. It's for all our viewers, I'm going to try and keep this under 2 hours. I really, I know that's a long attention span time to watch a show, but yeah, there's so much to talk about in this freaking episode. Yeah, let's talk about Saul, Ellen, and Six.
Yeah. This is really starting to give me strong Ellen might be the last Cylon vibes.
I'm converting Clarissa on my team. Woo, woo, woo.
I was just like, oh, okay. I mean, he might be just like not Jobio, but at the same time, like from the very beginning, she just like appeared out of nowhere. So
Yeah, and what did she say? She was on a planet or something? And then that Athena somehow found her on a planet, or Sharon Boomer, whatever you want to call her, found her or whatever, and brought her to the Galactica. Like, come on.
I'd have to do a rewatch, but yeah, she
I think
just
that's
kind
what
of
it was.
appeared.
Yeah.
She was found by a rescue crew. There were no names mentioned. It was like an EMS crew or something like that.
Yeah, like a random.
Okay, then that's sketchy. Going back to that, I was like, that's sketchy. I was found by this ship. But go ahead, Clarissa.
I was just like I said, it strongly got me in the I think Ellen might be the missing Cylon camp. But it's like she could be the red herring, right? She could be the red herring. Like, what if it's Baltar?
Can we play a new game this week?
A new game. I don't know. Does it have to be confirmed by all members?
Instead of
Because we are
picking
not
one
all members.
No, Bobby, I did not.
No. That's what I'm saying. Instead of pick your one Cylon for this week, because we only have one Cylon yet. I mean, everybody
Only
else,
one left.
we know who all of them are. How about who are your 5 people who could be Cylons?
Like, who they could be as extras. Like, who could have been Cylons kind of thing. Like,
No, who is a Cylon? We have one Cylon.
5 best guesses.
oh, that's easy for
There's
me.
not a
Ellen's already
whole
on.
lot of people left to choose from. It would like end up being the same, like 10 people circulating.
I'm just curious. I'm terribly curious. Like for me, watching this show when it originally came on air, the biggest thing was like guessing every week. Like, what the fuck's gonna happen next week?
Maybe 3?
Yeah, because there's too many people to be like, yeah.
Oh,
Are 3 best guesses?
Another question: do you think 3 is gonna come back?
Yes.
Like properly?
Yes.
I really hope so.
That's
what
just
was that?
you have a crush on.
Well, what was then that whole plot?
Lucy Lawless.
I have a crush on Lucy Lawless. She's like the only woman in the world.
Everyone should.
She's the only one in the world who's as tall as I am.
Well, there's also Donnie very tall. But yeah, there's like that makes that whole plot thread for episode 2 make then it'd be just a dropped storyline because they're like, we have to bring the 3s back so we can stop fighting, kind of thing, like to bring back the democracy, because having her box wasn't gonna work.
Gonna feel about
and she's seen the 5.
What'd you say, Sam? Sorry?
And she's seen the 5.
Mm-hmm.
So when they bring her back, she'll be like, she's gonna have to be a big part of the reveal, I think.
Probably like that'll be like a mid-season finale thing. Like it's not coming now. It's coming in like 10 episodes or 6 episodes from now.
But the Saul and Six thing, like he keeps going back to see her, and she lets him beat the crap out of him, which is weird.
Well, she lets him beat the crap out of her, and then he lets her beat the crap out of him.
Yeah.
It's
But
very disturbing. This is not what I would call a healthy relationship at all. But on the same note, I think he's exactly on a more visceral level, reliving his relationship with Ellen.
yeah, I see that. It's just I was surprised that he let her. Like I could see her letting him beat her, but because of who I know Six to be as a character, because we've known this Six. This is Caprica, right? So
Yeah, this
I can see her tolerating that. It surprised me that he tolerated it, and I was like, oh, dude, oh, Saul.
Oh, and what do we learn from Saul's?
I think the whole sequence of this too, and him picturing Six as Ellen means something more. Like I was talking to John about it, and I kind of briefly mentioned it last week. But like the idea that the two, not to be racist or whatever, but like the two of like Six and Deanna were more resembled after if Ellen is the final Cylon, that they were resembled kind of after her in some sense, like, or pieces of her came through in them. Like Six uses her sensual sense as well as the manipulation, while Deanna uses like the logical side of like this is how things work, and then also that type of manipulation as well. So that's probably in some sense why he's seeing her through that as well, and also too because it's both of themselves trying to process, because Six doesn't know that Solitaire is one of the final 5, and he doesn't know who the last one is. So that's kind of like a circular problem as well.
They definitely allude to the fact that she may know, sort of, feel that Saul is the one of the final 5 Cylons. Like she said before that she can feel them. Like, are we to believe that when she's close there, that he doesn't feel that even, like that she doesn't feel it even more when he's close to her?
Like the
Like
Wi-Fi.
she must.
The Cylon Wi-Fi is like kind of down when he shows up. Kind of.
Or more enhanced, like a stronger signal. That's what I'm thinking.
You both took philosophy in high school, right? Or in college?
I went to music college. Closest thing to psychology was jingle writing.
No, you took Wagner. So that's like some really close shit to psychology in some ways.
Bye, Johnny.
I did.
Good night, Johnny. Get some rest, man. For anybody who doesn't know, Johnny just went through a big ordeal, and he's doing much better. So, be good to my man, okay? By the way, that's my man. But no, my question is, and this is a terribly psychological and philosophical question. Do you think that Saul wants to hurt or be hurt more. And on the same note, do you think Six wants to hurt or be hurt more? I would be terribly interested to see anybody's opinions on that.
I think that Saul is looking for punishment for what he did to Ellen, for being a Cylon. I mean, he killed her for treason against the human race, and he's not even a human.
And maybe
that's got to carry some heavy guilt.
But on the same note, he also went through 3 fucking battles where almost everybody on every ship he was on died. And, you know, you have to weigh that against the other one.
Going back to your point there, Clarissa, it could be that too, like almost the fact that maybe deep down, like even though it hasn't like recognized, like it's come to the surface yet, it's like he knows that potentially that because his first question after he finds out is, what about Ellen? So, and Ellen being that last person, and now he keeps seeing Ellen show up and saying all of these things, even though it's for other people, it is Six saying these things. So it's like almost like that situation of, why didn't I figure this out earlier? Why didn't you say anything if you knew like about it? Like, does she even know? Like, kind of taking it out on each other almost. But his like almost that thing of like, also that guilt too of, I took you and killed you because I thought you would be treasonous against the human race, but you are a Cylon. So it's like, we could have been alive together and could have been Cylons, in quotes, like together almost, if she is. Which I think he's more and more leaning towards that she could have been, and she's just no longer alive.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay.
Even then, there's the concept that she really meant what she did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she did all the things she did. She freaking sucked Cavill's dick because I'm sorry, excuse my language, but it's terribly implied in that episode. Like, to save Saul.
Mm-hmm.
And she did all this, and now she's not a Cylon. But she betrayed the Resistance to save Saul. Like, I mean, I don't even want to think of what's going through that man's head right now.
A lot.
It's a real mind frack.
Yeah. And yeah, to have probably that actress back on set was probably very fun. Especially because when it was spliced between those 2 actresses, like that probably was quite fun to like, just be there on set with that. And when she showed up in the previously on Cylon Johns, I was like, yes, this is gonna be a good episode, because it's been a long time since we've had Ellen, like that, the actress that plays Ellen on this show. Like, I think it's been since her quote unquote death episode that she hasn't been on the show, or at least not like in a large capacity besides like flashbacks.
Do you know what's absolutely hilarious is how much you hated that character?
I know, but now I'm like
on the show, and now you're like obsessed with her.
I know, but it's just like, I can't remember what one point it was, but then when it's like, when I realized that it had to be, we lost Cursor for a second. But when I realized that it had to be not background characters, but like characters, like supporting characters of our major characters, that were like the Cylons, I was like, oh, this is quite cool. But like, cause Ellen just was like kind of cringy. She was like one of those like people that are just like, ugh. But now that I kind of watched more of the show, I've realized that she's pretty good. And if she is the last one, that hey, it's pretty dang good. Because like I said last week, there was only two people outside of the Galactica when the music started playing. So that means either it's Starbuck or for me it's like someone who was never on the ship for like a
So if
long
I can
time.
ask you a question, if you don't think Starbuck is a Cylon, how is she alive?
She's like the Baltar. Like Baltar there's a reason why she is alive.
No, but
Like
Baltar hasn't like literally survived a near-death experience.
no, I know that, but like it's like
Starbuck literally went into a.
No, but like that aspect of she is as important as a character like Baltar, but she has quote unquote died, but it means like that whole thing. Like I'm trying to still figure that out, like why she is alive, and because I still don't think she is a Cylon, but I feel like she's important to the Cylons because it's like finding Earth and all of that. There's like a reason why she came back, or if she never died in the first place, or if she did die, then it'll, for me at least, I need more clues for that. Um, but I think that there's a reason why she's back, and she's going to be the major supportive role, at least for Anders and his storyline moving forward. Once she finds out about who he really is, even though she has said that she wants to kill him as soon as if she ever was a Cylon. It's going to be because of probably of that experience of her like dying and then coming back. That maybe some things might have changed in that aspect of when he's like, "Oh, I'm Cylon." It's like, "Oh, you got to live a second life." Well, maybe so did I. Like, I don't know. Like, it's kind of those things. Or Starbuck is just like one of those people where it's like, I don't know. She's just a vision of for everybody, and she's not actually there. But it'd be quite fun. But yeah, I still have to figure out this. I still have to figure out my not argument, but my like potential reasoning as to why Starbuck could be a Cylon.
Your thesis.
Yeah, I'm still developing that thesis, but it's why I think that is because it can only be like two people, unless there's a different trigger for the last one, which I mean that's totally possible. That there's a different trigger for the last one if they are on Galactica, but it doesn't make that much sense. Like it doesn't make, personally to me, make too much sense if it is a different trigger for the final one. Like it has to be on someone who was off Galactica. It could be on someone on Pegasus. Like it doesn't, like, even though we don't really know many people on Pegasus anymore, but it's like one of those situations where, because two people were taken out of that situation that we know and know pretty well, I would say, to be Cylon, that make sense. But especially with Ellen, like she's been gone for so long, we've kind of forgotten about her. So for her to come back, and especially because of the whole past with Cavill, like pulling those things back, and it's starting to click again. And in a couple weeks I'll probably bring up like these are all the things, but yeah, there's something going on with Saul and Ellen that there's deeper to that. Go ahead, Claire.
Clarissa, yes. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I was just gonna say her appearing also kind of got me thinking about the possibility that the final Cylon could be somebody we haven't seen in some time. Like we lost that religious leader in like season, I think it was season 2. We lost, like we've lost other characters along the way, And I was like, oh,
Flat top.
just because it was a long time ago doesn't mean they might not still be relevant.
Starbuck held up her mug. Flat top.
What?
Crash down. Chuckles.
Crash down.
You know, Starbuck held up her mug and she named every person who had been killed.
And
Right.
Crashdown was killed on like season 2.
Crash down. Yeah. I mean, if you guys think he might be coming back.
Crashdown.
Or, or Cat. Or,
Cat?
yeah, like, we don't know.
Callie. Da, 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 da. No, I'm joking. Don't think so. That'd be too kind of.
Mm.
Ooh.
Still, I think it has to be
On the
somebody
nose.
who's relevant. So, because the whole "it's you, I didn't realize it was you" thing of number 3's.
Speaking of Callie, do you guys just want to go ahead and talk about that elephant in the room and Tyrell's fucking monologue?
Yeah.
You mean at her funeral?
No, I'm talking about the one at the bar.
Oh, when he was talking about like, I knew she was like, she knew I was a Cylon, blah blah blah, and then like, and then Baltar, not Baltar, Adama.
He's like, I settled. You know, you don't get what you want, you settle for what you can get. And I mean,
well,
the first time I watched that, I was just like, oh my gosh, that is so hard.
Yeah.
Like, that is the nastiest thing you can say about your partner.
That also fuels that fire that makes me think that, like, because it's like, what did we find out, like, throughout these episodes, that she proposed to Tyrell. Like, so first they had a certain type of relationship. Then he beat on her. She forgave him for it. They got past that. And then in the time jump, and then in the time jump, they got together and then supposedly had Nikki. But then he also said that he settled, and also that she proposed to him. So it brings up the idea that because there's only 30,000 people left, he's like, I like her, so why not? Like, I like her, she liked me back. Let's like start a life together. It's not like a whole thing of like being melodramatic and all of that, like being mean. It's like the fact that like this was put into my life for a certain reason, and the catalyst for what obviously happened in the last episode. So there's a reason why all of these things happened. And saying he settled, sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens to people who lose their significant other in a traumatic way. Like, they don't realize it until they're gone. Like, the person's gone, that they realize that their life could have been different without them, or different because of them, or different without them. So it's like, plus it's also that scene was contrasted with Adama saying it's like, oh, she knew you were a Cylon and all that stuff. So it's quite a confusing sequence.
I love the
you
way
don't know what's reality and what's fiction in that too. So, but I can understand.
I love the way that scene's done. Me personally, it's very Scorsese.
It's very common
for
people to act out when they're grieving.
No. I'm talking about like when one moment you have what Tyrell thinks he hears from Adama.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have what Adama actually says. Like, that's a very Scorsese thing to do. And I really enjoyed that. I thought that was some of the best film shooting in the entire series, honestly. Well, it's like that scene in episode 1 of this season when, oh, no, Bill, I've never felt better. And for like that 1 second, you're just like, what the frack?
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, okay, this is all in his head. But I think the Tyrell scenes were really well done in the same manner in this episode, where like he's hearing these things and he's like, no, this is. Am I going insane? But it's very Scorsese. It's very Hitchcock. Like, am I going nuts or is the world going nuts? And I'm just like fucking dealing with it. I think that's pretty well done.
Yeah. The whole man, you feel so bad for Tyrell. You know, he screws up on fixing the ship, and he has this outburst, like I was saying before about them drawing attention to themselves through his grief. Like, everybody's really going to be focusing on him, and that's going to put their whole like identity at risk. Tori's acting out. Saul's letting Six beat the crap out of him. Like, people aren't going to notice this shit. Like, they're going to notice. So, yeah.
Saul's letting Six beat the crap out of him. Tori's got Baltar's dick in her mouth. Tyrell is, like, just fucking losing it. And then Anders, like, oh,
actually,
maybe
Tori's
the best thing they could have done
dick in her hand.
I'm sorry?
More specifically, in this episode, Tori has Baltar's dick in her hand.
Yeah.
She does.
Yeah, that god, that sequence. I don't know.
I was
can
like,
talk about-
okay.
can
S&M
talk-
episode of BSG coming up.
Yeah, like, well, obviously they had to make it as, because it's on sci-fi, so as like general pop, gen popish, as like it
That's
was
pretty
that.
funny.
But like Baltar, we can kind of talk about Baltar, like, when he wanted to make his own religion and how his like all of these people like want to be his disciples or his followers, and then the Marines show up and is like, let's get all these people out of here, which is kind of funny.
When the religious fucking fanatics show up, I mean, I'm sorry if you disagree with somebody's religion, that's fine, but like that, at least for me, for a number of reasons. I mean, that scene was fucking terrifying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You mean you're talking about the Sons of Ares?
Yeah.
Invasion? Yeah. Awful.
Like for me, that was absolutely terrifying.
It was terrifying.
Because it's meant to be traumatic. And the fact that
absolutely. It would be shot poorly if it weren't.
Yeah.
Right. But what I find interesting is how Head Six is really pushing Baltar to consistently instigate even after this happens. Like, she's like, don't put up with it. Go and fight this. And then they go and they trash the temple. And then he gets thrown in the clink. And then, and then that whole snowball takes place. And Tori's kind of standing by and watching it all happen. And I'm not really sure where her intentions are with Gaius.
No, I'm not sure. I know neither of you are as studied of biblical theologians as I am. But did either of you have a certain thing that came to your mind absolutely immediately the minute that Baltar walked into that temple and threw over that fucking table?
We've seen this before.
No, all of it's happened before, and it'll all happen again. But a specific thing that reminded you of. Oh, come on. Either of you? Has to be.
It felt very familiar. Wasn't there another table trashing incident?
Yes, Christ, with moneylenders at the temple in Jerusalem.
Oh, well, that, of course. But haven't
Well,
they touched on this somewhere else?
Oh,
But,
we touch a
yeah,
lot of
of
Christ
course.
things when it comes to Baltar. That's why Bobby thinks he's Jesus.
I mean, he went Space Jesus. So
yes.
that's why when he goes into the temple, did you listen to the stuff that he was saying about, he was saying how, Zeus was a rapist and gave birth out of his head, and
Yes,
what was,
and he had a
and
point.
like basically like just calling the priestess a witch.
Yep.
I mean,
And then
And I
throwing
was
the stuff
just like,
everywhere.
but everything he
heavy
said,
Christian overtones much? Heavy
everything he
Christian
said had a
overtones.
valid point to it. Zeus was a serial rapist. I mean, read the fucking Iliad.
Oh no, it's totally true. Like everything that he says, if you literally read the text of Greek mythology, which this is conveniently based on, so you can look those things up.
Oh no,
But
actually,
yeah,
maybe Greek mythology is based on it.
it was very heavy, like heavy Christian overtones. That's what came to mind.
Yeah, and then the whole thing, when he goes and trashes the religious ceremony. I mean, it's like it's an act of rebellion, but it's also at the same time, it's like, gosh, like Baltar, like come on, like people are just just starting to get back on this like not pedestal, but you're just starting to get back to a place where people like on the outside like you, and then all of a sudden like let me just trash your religious your service, and let me just start drawing things on the walls. It's just like people just starting to like you again, so you're gonna now make this big act against a bunch of religious people.
Well,
like,
that was what they were expecting anyway. I mean, if pardon me, if he's gonna be Space Jesus, then I'm not sure what that makes Roslyn. But his, like, this is all coming back around. This is, he's basically being like the Pope, I guess, the spokesperson for God. And then Roslyn would be what? She's trying to suppress this? Is she supposed to represent the Romans?
I guess so. I mean, it makes sense.
Because I know that, like, the Romans didn't want to make Jesus a martyr, right?
No, that's the last thing you want to fucking do is make a martyr.
Right? They knew that, if they made a martyr of him, then they were never going to be rid of his influence. But in the end, as the story goes, they did crucify. Well, I mean, the Jews crucified him, according to writings.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the Romans were sick of him. Like, he had rattled some cages, right? So yeah, if we're supposed to be looking at a comparison of Pius Gaius to Jesus, then yeah, Pius Gaius is rattling those cages, and it's like Roslyn is are the Romans, but then she's got Lee in her way.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you say Lee is Cicero?
I think I'm gonna have to look over that representation of the Last Supper again.
And who would you say Tom Zarek is? I mean, is he I I personally think the simplest way to say it is that I think Gaius Baltar has gone over the edge. I don't think he's gone overboard.
Oh yeah, no, he's
Do
like.
you think at the end of this episode that he actually believes what he says? And is this the first time you actually believe that he believes what he says?
No, I think when he was standing there and he was like, are you talking about the speech that he gives before they go and trash the place? About how we're not going to let this happen? Or are we talking about after they try to go back to their house?
I'm talking about this episode compared to the 42 before it. Like you know, because Gaius Baltar has had a number of what my grandma would call come to Jesus moments.
Oh yeah, I think that he's prone to delusions of grandeur.
But do you think this one's actually authentic? I mean, he's like, get off of me. Like, I don't want to fuck you. And I need to stand up for it. Like, the thing I love about the show is the ambiguity.
Yeah, but one moment of integrity doesn't necessarily mean that this is different.
So you still think he's a shifty bastard?
I don't think that he purposefully does these things. I just think it's in his nature and he can't help it.
Do you know how many times Clarissa has said this about me?
You are who you are.
Yeah.
I'm a Slytherin. We're practical. We're not fucking evil. We just do what needs to be done.
Newsflash, John. Hogwarts isn't real.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, because I bought it and sold it.
Damn. We're going to Vegas.
So
with Baltar's little outburst, it kind of like brings this battle up between yet another battle up between Rosalind and Lee.
Yes.
Going head to head. What's that?
Who do you agree with?
Who do I agree with?
Rosalind or Lee?
I can see where she's coming from, and it's very interesting because it's funny how Lee seems to be representing who she was in season 1.
Okay, I couldn't
A
follow
lot of the thing, the we have to maintain the integrity of law and order, and we're humans, and we need to keep it that way. And in order to do that, we have to maintain our humanity. And it just seems like at this point now, Rosalind is just like, I'm fed up with trying to do it the right way, and I just want things to be my way.
Yeah.
So I understand where she's coming from, because she's like, I'm working so hard, and then you guys are just being a bunch of frackers and, nut jobs
exactly
that are.
What Baltar did, right?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. So, but the thing is I think Lee is less likely to crack. I'm not saying he wouldn't, because he could. But I think that he's maintained this mindset all this time, despite everything. He still had this strong sense of right and wrong, much like Tom Zarek.
There's that fucking line when Tom is like, he's gonna do what he's gonna do, and Laura's like, yeah, he's Lee Adama.
Yeah.
I mean, that, like, pretty much sums it up.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Kenzie? What are your thoughts on it? Not being a bitter, jaded fucking person in their 40s who hates their fucking government. How do you feel
Well,
about it?
Baltar's like I'm still just now I'm kind of like flip flopped with like not hate, but it's just like annoyance of character. Um, but I think that like there's something that's just not bothersome, but it's or like annoying, but it's just something that's with Baltar that's just like why that I'm trying to still figure out like why he is so important. Yes, he's important to the end game, but I'm still trying to figure out why and why this whole religious connotations and religious belief is so connected to him. And is it because it's a person who's going against the government who has been involved with the Cylons that makes him so important to these cultish like people, or is it something that's a deeper meaning that we are yet to uncover with the storyline? Like, are these people like thinking way ahead in terms of like storyline projection? In terms of like this is a important person, and these are we will get reasons X, Y, and Z in the future, or all of these people are just as crazy as he is, and it's just to give him more ammunition because he is one of the um, lead characters throughout this entire series. Um, in terms of the religious stuff, like of course they have to have someone who is going against traditional religious views and have to like come up with their own because the show is based like I think Baldur's is like but like on old religious beliefs like these gods aren't real and like basically like but I'm real kind of thing like or I want to believe that I'm real and I'm a god kind of mentality.
He said that. He's just
No,
said
but
that.
he said that like the other like with the things when they go into that room during the service, like your gods aren't real or whatever. These people are like long dead, but like it gives that connotation or the undertone of like, but I for like the people that follow me, I am real. Like this whole thing, which is like that's condescending a little bit and a bit cocky. Um, to downgrade somebody's religious beliefs based on if they are breathing or not, um, or old or new. Um, I think like Bobby thinks it's like closer to that he is not a god, but it's like he is in some way given the elements of a godlike figure. Like he's the protector of Hera, or like the godfather of Hera, the one that's meant to protect her and save her, which will be important in the end. Which means that he will probably be a character that survives the end of this show, based on that simple fact, as well as many others. He's not gonna just die or whatever. But it's also that idea that I think that he's gonna be like the Starbuck aspect of that this person, they're not a Cylon, but they're important in helping the end game of the Cylons and bridging that gap with them almost. It's like he is the one of the people that's going to be important for the show's ending of humanity, whether Cylon or not, or together. Like the race that whatever you want to call Hera is survives and lives on. Like Starbuck, obviously she's probably gonna find Earth because why else is she and half of our main cast on this adventure to find Earth.
Because Kareth's race is going to bring humanity to its end.
It may be their version of humanity, but we still have Hera. And Hera has a whole new version of humanity because she is half human and half Cylon. So she's bridging that. Hera herself, probably with other human children, will bring about the new age of the world, almost. Like if they have a Cylon boy child, which I don't think is Nikki, because I just don't for some stupid reason. But yeah, like that Baltar is going to be like the important person that leads the Empire, and he's giving sign. Basically, what I'm saying is he's getting signs of I'm the most important person, and that it's just people aren't believing it yet because there haven't been given much backing behind it. Like there hasn't been motive for them externally and internally to believe that he's like all powerful. Besides the whole issues and everything that happened on New Caprica, like he has to redeem himself in the eyes of everybody else in terms of that whole storyline. Like he's gonna get another try at it, kind of thing.
Have you thought maybe that given the dialogue in this episode, the more people believe in Baltar, the less he believes in himself?
Yes, so that's why he's gotta get less people. They're like only have a select few people believe in him almost. So it's like the people that believe in me only get to believe in me, and the rest of them, it's like damn you for not believing in me. But well, since you didn't believe in me before, can't believe in me now. Almost because that's kind of like how he was sort of acting.
Baltar never says believe in me. He says believe in the one true God. I'm just pointing that out. I think it might be a very important point.
Yeah, but he could believe himself as the one true God in the end. It's just not saying believe in me, it's believe in the one person. Like, because if you were to trying to hide the fact that you have God status, you wouldn't be like, oh, don't believe in me, believe in like the higher power version of me. But guess what? It's still me. Like, he's gonna be one of those people that's the most important in the end. But it's just like he's gonna go through another couple rounds of this until people actually start figuring out the importance of that. Mid-season, we'll start to get more of the whole. Let's like get back on Baltar's side. Like what actually happened on New Caprica happened for a reason, and it meant to be something that would be in the future, kind of. But I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point.
No, I enjoy your rambling. That's why we have the show. Clarissa, ramble. Your thoughts on the religiosity of Baltar and his one true God and polytheism versus monotheism and
I mean, it's an old story. The parallels are undeniable. Honestly, for me, I see more on the political side than I do the religious side. Like I see the religious side as being an element of culture and everything, but in the end, it's the politics that sort of interest me even more. Like you think about how Gaius and his crew are this one true God cult. And let's be honest, I mean, the only thing left is going to be cults. There's like 30,000 people left. You know, unless everybody had the same religion, every religion's cult, basically. Then you get people like Lee, who's pretty much agnostic. He's not interested in turning to this one true God religion, but at the same time, I don't know that he's particularly devout in following the the gods of their
Yeah,
own. Like
everything he says is so legally justified.
yeah, like this whole thing when Rosalind goes into the prison to talk to Gaius and says, we're going to protect you. I'm going to make it so that people can't assemble. And I was just like, politically, historically, imposing restrictions on people's right to assemble is never a good thing, never a good sign. And sort of like alarm bells went off in my head right then. And so when Lee championed sort of that whole thing with the quorum discussion, and Rosalind's losing her fracking composure over it, basically, saying, no, I'm not going to change my mind. You can't make me. And he's like, yeah, we can.
Yeah, because you're not Pol Pot. You're not
Yeah.
Nicola Mussolini. You're not Adolf Hitler. You're
But
a
but I
voted
see where she's coming
representative.
from.
No, I totally see where she's coming from. On the other hand,
Because she's like, you do that and wait until you see the can of worms, because there will be a can of worms, is what she's saying. And I think she's right.
but on the same note, if you're an elected official, you can't do that.
No, you can't. No, you can't. I mean, I understand where she's coming from and why she's like, that's such a bad idea, but at the same time, restricting the right to assemble was a bad idea in the first place.
I remember
She's trying to avoid she's trying to avoid conflict rather than resolve conflict.
Yeah, there was
what I
another
mean?
elected official who did that back in 1933.
Yeah.
And he was quite successful at it. And I am not going to drop that name because, oh my gosh, that word will never be dropped on this fucking channel, because anybody who wants to compare people to him, I'm sorry, but that man worked so hard to be the most evil human being who has ever existed. And anyone who compares anybody to him is a fracking idiot.
It'd have to be an awfully terrible person. Like somebody as terrible as him.
And I'm not going to say his name.
No. But anyway, so my point being that while I do, like, I see the religious parallels and I'm interested in that, I'm more interested in the effect that it has on the politics of the story. Because the politics will more closely well, I mean, it's all intertwined, isn't it? But, you've got the Gaius with his group, and it's Rosalind acting against him. Lee standing up saying, no, this is wrong. And Gaius being all, thank you. He's all, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because it's right. I'm not doing it because you're right. That's sort of where Lee's coming from in that, and he's got the quorum.
Do you think Gaius is finally coming
side.
from that place too, though? Is the question. Do you think Gaius has finally had his come to Jesus moment?
Well, we already discussed this, and I said that he's had these before, so I have no reason to think this would necessarily be any different.
Broken nose might do.
No, but we talked about that. So, but the dynamic of Rosalind to Admiral Adama, with her issues with Lee and the quorum,
and her
and the thing is that he used to be under Adama's thumb, basically. He was military. His dad was the commanding officer. She always felt, to some degree, because Because Lee always spoke up, even when he was in the military. He always spoke up about things that he believed in. Always did. So, but there was always that, well, your dad is there to keep you in check and keep you under control. But now he's not military anymore. And Dom was like, he's a free citizen. He's a grown man. I'm his dad, but I can't tell him what to do. He's going to do what he's going to do. And I think that Rosalind is starting to fear Lee. And I think that Lee is going to rise politically very quickly. And I don't know if Baltar is going to have any influence on that. But like they said, even the Geminons and them wouldn't be allowed to meet for their religious meetings under this.
Right. And it's a very valid point.
Totally. Like they have to look at it from all sides.
It's a very valid point. Like, even if this is a fringe religious group, if you deny their rights to meet, then you're denying anybody who's not straight on the board, doing what you tell them to, type of deal. You have any thoughts about that, Kenzie?
In regards to some of the religious stuff, and like especially when it comes to Bill and Laura and Lee, we have to have somebody who's there that's going to be the main source of pushback, like, because you can't have colonial, like the person on the colonial fleet that we don't really know their backstory being the main pushback on this, because it doesn't give us as much deeper meaning or relevance. Like, if this pushback was coming in like season 2 and a character that we don't really know anything minus their name was doing this pushback, it would be able to develop that story forward. But yeah, like Clarissa says, I feel like there's going to be a point where, because Rosalind thought that her successor was going to be Baltar, and we all know how that turned out. So if she has the ability, not to say like that, in terms of like elections or whatever, to like choose a leader, she may put her faith somehow in Leodama, in terms of like, if everything goes sideways and I can't be coherent enough that like he may be like her like not mouthpiece, but like be able to like understand, like be there for transition almost, like, because Zarek comes in and out. That actor's like not like he's gonna I feel like he's coming back, but it's not as like important for us or the mainstay as like Leodama. Like Leodama, if he has to be a more of a political standing, he can rise to power, and he might very well do that. It'd just be also on the back of the fact that Laura believes that what he's doing is right. Right now, I think it's kind of like a slight waiver, but I feel like there's going to be a big political push that's coming. It's not now, but it's going to come in a couple episodes from now, where we're going to have to deal with a lot of politics moving forward. If they find Earth before the mid-season finale, kind of, then there's going to be a lot of more politics, like how do we govern this planet and all of that stuff. And I feel like because she's dying, and like she talked about how to Bill, when she was having her treatments and stuff like that, like we have to prepare for when I die, kind of thing. And if she can have someone who's young, like Lee, who can see both sides and be able to put forth what's right, she may back him, even if even if it's a twisted thing, like, oh, so the dying woman now wants to back the admiral's ex-militant son. Okay, like I can see people being kind of pushy about that, but
I'd say ex-military, not ex-militant. I mean,
yeah, as I said, sorry, I just my voice just got like
no, that's okay. I just wanted to clear that up. I apologize.
but yeah, it's like but yeah, like that idea, like I don't know, like I feel like that could be a thing of like she wants to leave the government kind of more in his, like it will probably be in Derek's hands because he's vice president and all for right now, but that he would be more of like the mouthpiece of what she wants, like what she wants to leave kind of as like that legacy almost, like doing the right thing, being responsible, and making sure everybody's taken care of and is given a voice. The small people are given a voice, not just like, oh, three of us can have a voice and the rest of us can't. But,
did anybody else notice that Laura Rosling's wearing a wig this episode?
yeah, because she's losing all her hair. They talk about it.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
I said, did anybody else notice that Laura Roslin is wearing a wig this episode?
They talk about it.
She
in the
says as
dialogue.
much.
Yeah,
When she's
but
in Baltar Cell, she says it's a wig.
I mean, that's a fucking deep, impactful scene. And it really, for me, it told me, like, I don't question any of the decisions Laura Roslin made. But on the same note, you have that parallel in your mind. In the back of your mind, you have the fucking parallel with Commander Kane. Or with Admiral Kane. In the back of your head, you have that fucking parallel. You can say you don't. You can say you think that Laura Roslin's this great fucking person. Blah, blah, blah. She wants to take care of humanity, but in the back of your head, you're thinking that. Am I wrong?
I think that she thinks she's making the best decisions for everyone. I think that she's got nothing to lose. She's dying.
I think Admiral Kane had the thing.
I don't think that she's. I don't think that she wants to make.
I'm sorry. I was just saying. I think Admiral Kane thought she was doing what was best for the most people.
I think that Admiral Kane saw it as a war and was acting the way that you think you should when you're fighting a war. But I don't think that Rosalind necessarily looks at it the same way. Because her concern is more about society and less about...
It was anyway.
Winning a war. What?
It was anyway. In this episode, I'm sorry, it doesn't seem like that's her concern.
Well, I think that she wants what's best for everyone. I think that she wants... I mean, there's no question that she's going to have personal prejudices, but still, I think it's very different in that one was from a military perspective with the objective of defeating the enemy, and the other situation is retaining and preserving society. Those are two different things.
Yeah, like Kane wanted what was best for her crew, and Rosalind wants what's best for her, the Galactica,
for all
and everybody else's crew. Like she wanted like everybody else on their fleets, like in the fleet. What's best for everybody else, because she for all intents and purposes is still responsible for 30,000+ people until the day she dies, or until they have to try and vote for a new president. she is responsible for these people. And yeah, it's a big uphill battle. But yeah, she did talk about how like this is a wig and that how her health is rapidly deteriorating, but I don't think she's gonna die until like probably the last episode, like at last episode. She's one of those. We'll lose her in like either the second to last episode or the last episode. Like she's not going quite yet because she's got to see that mission of everybody on Earth or whatever they want to call Earth alive and thriving and in a good position before she can die. It's one of those, like, from a storytelling perspective, that's how I feel like she has, like, how she's gonna go. Like, she's gonna keep fighting for as long as she can until she sees her civilization or the people that belongs to the civilization that she was spearheading the survival with alive and thriving before she dies. Like, it's not going to be something where it's just like, oh, she dies next episode or 2 episodes from now. Like, Rosalind's in for the long haul still, and it's going to take her off. She's going to go down fighting with this and making sure.
But as long a haul as long as the haul is she survives. So, yeah. I have to vacate this room now.
Well, we're about to end this. We're about to wind this down anyway. Clarissa, you have anything going on soon?
Not really. I just started a new math class this week and it's lots of homework, so I'm just focusing on school and not doing other projects right now.
Oh, and do you have
just you guys
10 seconds of Starbucks that we get
for sleep?
Sweaty Starbuck.
I know how much you two like Sweaty Starbuck. So I was trying to, pull that in.
It was interesting that Anders was awake and he was also sweating. So the Cylons do sweat.
Dude, they're in a fucking dumpster.
Yeah.
Like, they're literally in a space dumpster.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody's
That's
sweating.
what they are.
Everybody's probably sick of each other. I think something major might happen in the next episode or 2.
Well, yeah, because, gotta have something dramatic happen on what the Demetrius, like, they're just floating around. Like, we haven't really gotten much concrete stuff that's been on, like, what's really been going on that fleet.
Right.
Clarissa, go ahead.
Well, except for everybody hating Starbuck. So, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's hating on Starbucks. It's a thing. It's a thing everybody's doing right now.
Do you think there are going to be any what's the fucking word I'm looking for? Consequences of this of that?
You mean sending her in the first place? Like, society-wise?
Sending her out in the first place, and B, everybody fucking wanting to kill her except for Sam, who wants to, like...
Well, I think that's something that we're going to definitely tackle. I mean, of course it's going to be an issue. It's already an issue. Can only go up from here. They've introduced the issue. They're not going to let it go. So, yeah, of course there is. And we'll see how that affects the fleet.
I think it's just...
My prediction...
Yes, predictions.
My prediction is that Starbucks gonna get them to Earth, and there's nothing but dinosaurs. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
And who are your top 3 Cylons?
My top 3 Cylons are Ellen, Starbuck, and Gata.
Um, I think there's a reason why, John, we didn't go to Starbuck this week, minus the 10 seconds or 15 seconds that we had of her at the end of this episode, because we wanted to catch us up with what's going to go on what was going on Galactica, so we can really sink our teeth into what's been going on the Demetrius. Like, we've gotten hints of it, like, oh, this is what we're doing for like 15 minutes of an episode. Nothing too crazy, but like we haven't really got a full-fledged episode with the Demetrius being very much of a focus. So that's going to happen, as well as, like Clarissa said, Earth isn't going to be as luscious and pretty when they show up. It's going to be like a deserted, like kind of like an upgrade from New Caprica, but not very much of an upgrade, almost, where it's like they think it's going to be all pretty, like what was that planet called in like when we were in season 2? I can't remember, but it's not going to be like that. It's going to be like New Caprica.
I don't remember either. It was a really pretty planet. Like, I would have totally just like been like, hey everybody, like I'm just gonna hang out here.
Yeah. The planet where Crashdown died. But
I know Crashdown is your favorite character.
Yeah, because he was for a point in time. Because hey, there wasn't that many that I liked in the beginning. That was like because I like sometimes the secondary characters or the ones that don't show up very often. But
he was my favorite character to watch die.
Well, yeah, because he died in like because that whole episode where he died was just a bad situation waiting to happen. Anyway, the top 3. I have to pick 3. You know, my number 1 choice has been Ellen. And my second part of my brain thinks that if it's not Ellen, then it's going to be Starbuck. And then, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, because I'm going with the idea that it had to have been someone who wasn't on Galactica when the music was playing. And I'll have to go back, but I don't think Derek was on Galactica when the music was playing in the.
No, he was on Colonial 1.
Yeah, so that's what I think. There, those are the 3. But
and what's your rating for this episode?
Let's see. 8 religious riots with Randy the Random Marine. There we go. Because he's back.
You are always like the harshest.
Oh, Randy.
Yes, it's hard to please me in certain. Well, for this show, it's hard to.
You have no idea how many women have said that to me.
Oh, jeez. But Clarissa, what's your rating for this?
Joke. It was trying to be funny.
Go ahead, Clarissa.
Great to see everybody. And
do you have a rating?
Thanks for having me.
Do you have a rating?
Oh, my rating was I would say this is a 9.2. Beats with 6. Cell beatings with 6.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's like the ties back at it again with like just the punches. Right? Where it's just like, let me just yeah. Yeah, like it was a good episode. Like I know I'm harsh on these shows, but it's just because I
I
don't
like
know.
that you're harsh on these shows. That's why I invite you on here. Because you're like so mean.
I set up this this one today, so I was like, I gotta do it. I think it was like there's a reason why I'm harsh on the show, and it's just because I don't know. I feel like there's certain things that I've been able to like feel like I've picked out that I just gotta be suspicious. Plus, the Baltar stuff makes me just go ugh sometimes because it's not my favorite. But anyway, we're done. So
I'm going to give this one 9.75 partial eye disturbing sex scenes.
oh god,
Because, no, I mean, if I think back, that is the thing I remember most from this episode. Like, that scene is so
Messed.
messed up.
Messed up. Messed up.
So, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to try to do something here, and we might even get demonetized for this.
John, please just don't.
I'm just playing some music.
Oh, I thought it was just bad. I was like, oh, we're not even monetized anyway, so just get
No.
copyrighted.
Mackenzie, you know I say dirty things in person. I don't really say dirty things like publicly. Not too often.
You did.
And when I do, that's pretty funny.
You did say some pretty dirty things tonight already, so. But anyway, let's
I
see.
just dropped a couple F-bombs. That's not dirty.
No, some other stuff, but I can talk to you about that. Anyway, play the music that you want to play.
This is actually
Cue the music.
Oh no, it's on. Actually, if you guys want, you can solve the entire equation of Battlestar Galactica here.
I can't hear it,
Oh.
so.
But on that note, ha ha ha.
God bless you all.
Gotta go.
I gotta go.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, everyone. You know what I say.
So say we all.
So say we all.